and international team on experts in kinesiology, sports science, medicine, rehabilitation, dietetics, ergonomics, psychology, and also sociology. I'm a sociologist. So this kind of diversity enables really comprehensive and in-depth exploration of modern scientific challenges. So through this program, Kinesiology of Quality of Life and all related projects, just now we ended with bed rest study, which the first time in Italian space agency who's financed this research, we examine also young women, which is not so easy work. So together with this and all those related projects, we taken really kind of integrative approach to health, mostly highlighting all the benefits of physical activity and the risk of inactivity on the other hand. So we focus on human adaptation to health factors, including muscle plasticity, brain function, muscle-brain interaction, psychosocial health, and also dealing with working environments and also sport environments. So now, to not be too long, I would like to just present Kaja. Kaja has been a member of our team since 2019. I think with the background in kinesiology and dietetics, she's also a ski instructor. She's really dedicated and really valuable researcher. So I'm pretty sure that today she will share a lot of valuable knowledge among us. So, but let her speak and introduce herself. So Kaja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sasha. At Slovenia, it's already afternoon, so good afternoon from our part and good morning to you. So as Sasha already mentioned, my background is in dietetics and kinesiology, and I have a PhD in kinesiology. And in addition to my academic work, I'm also a certified ski instructor, and I teach and collaborate in the field of sports nutrition. Before we start today, I'd like to briefly go through the main goals of the webinar. So first, we will talk about the importance of the nutrition in the winter sports, specifically how cold environments and altitude affects athletes' nutritional needs and performance. Then we will look at some of the main facts, the key physiological and metabolic changes that happen in the cold and what that means for energy balance, hydration, and fueling strategies. And finally, we will move into practical advice, so simple evidence-based strategies that coaches can apply to help athletes cope with the specific nutrition challenges of winter conditions. So let's say that winter sports challenge the body in unique ways. There are low temperatures, heavy clothing, altitude, and long training sessions, and all that adds to the stress. So good nutrition helps maintain energy, focus, and recovery under these conditions, and that's why today's session is all about. So I would say that nutrition is the cornerstone of the athletic performance, and it becomes even more crucial in the winter sports where athletes face unique physical and environmental challenges. So first we have performance. Proper nutrition fuels your body for endurance, strength, and coordination. There are carbohydrates that provide energy for high-intensity efforts, while protein, on the other hand, supports muscle maintenance and repair. Adequate micronutrients like, let's say, iron and magnesium optimize energy metabolism and muscle function. But without the right nutrition, performance drops and athletes feel fatigued faster. Then we have recovery, which is just as important as training itself. So we already know that nutrition helps repair muscles, restore glycogen, and reduce inflammation. For example, a balanced post-training meal with carbs and protein speeds up muscle recovery and prepares the athlete for the next session. Then we have thermoregulation. So already mentioned, winter sports involve exposure to cold, and nutrition supports thermoregulation, helping the body maintain core temperature. So proper hydration is essential even in cold conditions, as dehydration can impair heat production. Certain nutrients, like healthy fats, provide sustained energy that helps maintain body temperature during long exposures to cold environments. And last but not least, injury prevention. Also here, nutrition plays a very important role. So strong bones, tendons, and muscles reduce injury risk. Adequate calcium, vitamin D, and protein support bone health. Antioxidants from fruits and vegetables can help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation and lowering the risk of overuse injuries. So we see that nutrition in today's presentation, so in winter sports, is not just about eating well. It's about optimizing energy, recovery, body temperature, and reducing injury risk. So with that purpose, in the following slides, we will dive deeper into the specific nutrition strategies tailored for winter athletes. When we think about nutrition for winter sport athletes, there are several unique challenges compared to the other sports. First, there are energy demands that are usually higher. Cold environments increase energy expenditure. That means that athletes need more calories, not only to perform, but also to stay warm and healthy. If they fail to match these increased needs, they risk low energy availability, which can impact both health and performance. Second, macronutrient needs slightly shift. Carbohydrates remain the key fuel for high-intensity performance, while protein supports recovery and immune function. On the other hand, fat intake is also important. It provides a concentrated energy source, especially during longer sessions and endurance events in the cold. Then we have hydration, which is usually often gets overlooked. Even though athletes may not feel thirsty, they still lose a lot of fluids throughout sweat and breathing in dry, cold air. Encouraging regular fluid intake, we will see, including warm drinks, is essential. Next, micronutrients and immunity plays a big role. So we can expose here vitamin D, which is often low due to reduced sunlight exposure, while iron, zinc, and antioxidants are important to maintain immune function and energy level. And finally, supplement use. It should be individualized and evidence-based. Commonly justified supplements in winter sports include vitamin D and sometimes iron or omega-3 fatty acids, depending on blood status. However, supplementation should never replace proper dietary planning and always be checked for purity and necessity. So in short, nutrition needs careful planning to cover higher energy demands, hydration, and immune support while avoiding unnecessary supplementation. Now that we covered the general nutritional principles, let's look at how these needs change when training and competing in more extreme environments, specifically in the cold and at the altitude. So when working or exercising in the cold, the body's energy needs can increase for 10 to 25%. This depends on how well we can keep our body temperature stable through warm clothing, reduce blood flow to the skin, or by producing heat during movement. Factors like wind, humidity, and sun exposure also affect how hard the body has to work to stay warm. If the cold is extreme and causes shivering, energy use can be doubled because shivering helps generate heat. So when we start to shiver, our body burns more carbohydrates to make heat. This, of course, increases energy needs, especially if shivering continues. So in very cold conditions, having enough carbohydrate availability is important to maintain performance and body temperature. So when shivering starts, carbohydrates use skyrockets. That's why athletes in very cold conditions must have good carbohydrate store. But I have to say here that, however, most winter athletes don't experience shivering since their training and clothing can help them maintain body temperature. Nevertheless, one of the main challenges is avoiding a negative energy balance. So when that means, as I already mentioned before, this is when athletes burn more energy than they eat. This negative energy balance can lead to a loss of lean body mass, meaning they lose muscles instead of fat, which reduces strength and power. Low energy intake can also lower iron levels, which affects oxygen transport, increases fatigue, and slows recovery. That's why meeting nutrition demands is so important. Athletes need enough carbohydrate to support endurance and refill glycogen stores after training. But they also need fats, as fats are additional energy source, especially during long sessions and in cold conditions when the body uses more energy to stay warm. And finally, protein, we know that is a key nutrient for recovery and maintaining muscle mass throughout the training session. So the main goal for performing exercise in cold is simple: avoid negative energy balance and dehydration. To do that, athletes need to focus on getting enough fuel every day. The main source of energy should be from carbohydrates, which is around 6 to 10 grams per kilogram of body mass per day. This supports high training loads and helps refill glycogen stores between sessions and avoid hypoglycemia. To maintain lean body mass, athletes, I think you know that, athletes need protein. Recommendations for protein is about 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of body mass per day. This supports muscle repair and recovery, especially during heavy training or when energy intake is lower. Also, proteins play an important role in maintaining immune resistance. Moreover, fats should make up around 30 to 35% of daily energy intake because they provide essential fatty acids and energy for long sessions or cold conditions. And finally, practical advice: instead of just a few large meals, encourage smaller, more frequent, energy-rich meals throughout the day. This helps athletes meet their energy needs more easily and maintain stable energy levels. Now, something about the hydration in the cold. So in the cold environments, athletes can lose between 3 to 8% of their body mass during exercise. This is mostly through fluid loss. Even though they may not feel sweaty, they lose water in several ways. Throughout sweating, either way, then throughout breathing in dry, cold air, and through increased urination caused by the cold. On top of that, on one hand, thirst is reduced in cold environment, and on the other hand, athletes often drink less because we know when we are on snow, restrooms are far away or fluid access is limited. So that is why recommended a daily intake of around 3 to 4 liters of fluid, including warm drinks, tea, or soup to make hydration easier and more appealing. During longer training sessions or competition, athletes should also replace, of course, electrolytes, mainly sodium, potassium, and magnesium. With that, they will help maintain fluid balance and muscle function. Finally, some micronutrients is especially important for winter sports athletes. There is iron, which supports oxygen transport, zinc, which helps immunity and recovery, and vitamin D, which was already mentioned a few times, which can be low during winter months. Let's look now at the adaptation to the altitude. So it's quite similar, but we can make a quick dive into the altitude adaptations. So when we are at altitude, the body has to work harder, both to move and to breathe. Because of this, energy requirements increase by about 10 to 25%, mostly due to the higher basal metabolic rate and greater respiratory effort. In the first days and weeks, the body shifts its fuel use. Glucose oxidation increases, while fat oxidation decreases. This means that athletes rely more on carbohydrates for energy. After about 2 to 3 weeks, the body begins to adapt. We usually see improvements in VO2 max and heart rate as acclimatization takes place. However, there is also a risk of negative energy balance since appetite often decreases while energy needs rise. This can lead to loss of lean body mass if not carefully managed. Another key issue is iron status. Iron levels often drops at altitude, which limit red blood cell production and slows adaptation. So athletes must begin altitude training with good iron stores and maintain proper energy intake. So at altitude, the body relies more on glucose because fat oxidation becomes less efficient in low glycogen or oxygen conditions. So this means carbohydrate becomes the main and most effective energy source. Therefore, athletes should focus on easily digestible carbohydrate-rich foods, such as cereal flakes, rice, pasta, dry fruits, energy bars, and gels. These foods are quick to digest and help maintain energy levels during training. It's also a good idea to reduce fiber intake slightly because too much fiber can cause bloating or gastrointestinal discomfort, which are already more common at altitude. Finally, instead of having large meals, we already know that, we should aim for smaller, frequent meals every 2 to 3 hours. This helps maintain stable energy levels and supports better digestion, especially when appetite is reduced at altitude. Similar to the cold conditions, at altitude, also fluid loss increases significantly because the air is very dry and breathing becomes faster. Every breath releases water vapor, so even at rest, we lose more fluid than at sea level. This means the risk of dehydration is high, even if athletes don't feel thirsty. We already know that dehydration can reduce endurance, concentration, and delay acclimatization. So the general recommendation would be to drink about 3 to 4 liters of fluid per day, and even more during intense training or competition. It's best to use isotonic drinks as they replace both fluids and electrolytes like sodium and potassium, which are both essential for hydration and muscle function. Athletes should also limit caffeine and avoid alcohol as both increase urine output and can worsen dehydration at altitude. So the main goal, again, is very simple. Avoid negative energy balance and avoid dehydration. But to do that, they need, or athletes or coaches need to focus on getting enough fuel every day. The main source, once again, of energy should come from carbohydrates, around in the altitude 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body mass per day. This can support high training loads and helps refill glycogen stores between sessions. To maintain lean body mass, athletes need protein. It's the same as in the cold, about 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram per day. This supports muscle repair, recovery, and especially during heavy training or when energy intake, again, as the same as in cold condition, is lower. For the adaptation at the altitude, we can see that fats should make up around 25 to 30% of daily energy intake, which is slightly lower than in cold conditions. Again, fats provide essential fatty acid and energy for long sessions. And finally, again, very practical advice: instead of just a few large meals, we should encourage athletes to eat more frequently with energy-rich meals throughout the day. This would help athletes meet their energy needs more easily and maintain stable energy levels. So we presented now conditions in the cold and adaptations in the altitude. But when we talk about winter sports, we have to remember, of course, that both cold exposure and altitude significantly increase energy needs. So we have to combine those two environments. So we already mentioned that in the cold environments, the body works harder to maintain core temperature. And at the altitude, we see an additional rise in energy expenditure due to the increased breathing effort, higher basal metabolic rate, and often reduced appetite. And all this also increases energy needs. Typically, for athletes training in moderate to heavy conditions at altitude or in cold climates, daily energy expenditure can range from 45 to 68 calories per kilogram of body weight. For comparison, at sea level, under normal temperature conditions, average needs are closer to 40 to 45 kilocalories per kilogram of body mass per day, of course, depending on training intensity. So it's crucial to maintain carbohydrate availability, both for performance and thermoregulation, and to ensure adequate hydration, as in cold environments can blunt thirst, but fluid losses throughout breathing and sweat remain high. Finally, again, iron balance deserves special attention. Increased red blood cell production at altitude elevates iron requirements. So monitoring iron status is key for endurance and recovery in winter sports athletes. Let's look now a little bit into the immunity. So we know that in winter, the immune system is under extra stress. Training in cold environment, frequent travel, indoor crowding, and reduced sunlight all play a role. Let's look at few micronutrients and nutrition strategies that can help athletes stay healthy during this period. The first and most well-known winter deficiency is vitamin D. Because sunlight exposure is limited in the winter, athletes often fall below optimal level. Vitamin D is crucial not only for bone health, but also for regulating immune function. Let's say that supplementation is often necessary, but ideally it's based on blood testing. So we have to be really sure that the supplementation of vitamin D is necessary before we decide to use or to take supplement. Then we have iron, many times mentioned today. It's another crucial nutrient, especially for female athletes. Low iron impairs oxygen delivery to muscles and can weaken the immune response. Then we have zinc. Zinc supports immune cell function and wound healing. Even mild deficiency can increase susceptibility to infections. And finally, of course, omega-3 fatty acids. These or those are mostly found in fatty fish or, of course, supplements if we can take it in another way. So omega-3 fatty acids help control inflammation, support recovery, and balance immune responses. So beyond single nutrients, there are, of course, dietary patterns that can strengthen immunity and is always first suggested before taking the supplements. One of these food groups are probiotics or food rich with probiotics. Typical probiotics we can get from yogurt, kefir, or other fermented vegetables. Probiotics support the gut microbiota, which plays a major role in immune regulation. Then other group are antioxidants. Of course, types of oxidants are well known, such as vitamin C, vitamin E, and polyphenols. Those reduce oxidative stress caused by intense training, helping to protect immune cells. And finally, never underestimate the importance of sufficient energy and protein intake. Again, already mentioned today many times, but nevertheless, underfueled athletes are far more likely to experience immune suppression. So in practice, it's about choosing foods that naturally deliver these nutrients. We have here different types of food. Fatty fish, eggs are rich with omega-3, vitamin D. Then we have citrus fruits, berries, foods that are rich with vitamin C and polyphenols. Nuts and seeds are rich with vitamin E and zinc. And then we have leafy greens and fermented foods rich with probiotics. So to keep athletes healthy in winter, we focus on preventing deficiencies, supporting the gut and antioxidant systems, and ensuring adequate energy intake, preferably all from food. And if we are not successful, then we go to look at the supplements. I will talk a little bit now about the gender-specific considerations. So we know that women and men athletes have slightly different needs, especially regard nutrients. But before we dive into specific gender-related considerations, it's important to acknowledge that most sports nutrition research has been conducted in male athletes. We have much less data and fewer clear conclusions for female athletes, and especially, of course, in winter sports. But nevertheless, understanding the already existing evidence and physiological differences is crucial for coaches and practitioners, because nutrition strategies that work for men may not always apply to women, and we should be cautious at this point. So for female athletes, one of the biggest concerns is energy availability. I already mentioned this today many times. It goes for many sports, but also in winter sports, where energy expenditure is high due to both training and cold exposure, this becomes even more relevant. So low energy availability can lead to REDS. This is relative energy deficiency in sport. It's very complex. State. It includes, among others, or affects menstrual function, bone density, and recovery. There are also different hormonal fluctuations across the menstrual cycle that can also influence metabolism, temperature regulation, and even perceived fatigue. And so it's very, very important to avoid energy availability, and coaches should be aware that some phases may require slightly higher energy or carbohydrate intake. Then we have micronutrients for female athletes, like iron, calcium, and vitamin D are essential. Iron supports oxygen transport, so it's crucial for endurance in cold environments. We know that it can be more risky at female athletes, while calcium and vitamin D protect bone health and reducing stress fracture risk. Last but not least, for the female athletes, body image pressures are another challenge, especially in sports emphasizing leanness, such as, let's say, figure skating or ski jumping. These pressures can lead to restrictive eating patterns, so creating a supportive environment around nutrition here is vital, and it should be made from you, so from coaches. Then if we look into the men athletes, while REDS it's often associated with women, it's important to know that male athletes are not immune to this state. Men in sports where body weight or body mass or aerodynamics advantage matters, sorry, like ski jumping, biathlon, or cross-country skiing can also experience low energy availability. The consequences can include reduced testosterone levels, fatigue, impaired recovery, and decreased muscle mass. Maintaining lean muscle mass requires adequate protein intake throughout the day, ideally spaced across meals. Carbohydrate timing is also essential. The fuel training sessions and aid recovery, especially in long duration or high intensity winter events. And in weight sensitive sports, safe and gradual body composition management should always take priority over aggressive dieting. Those goes for, of course, both sexes. I would also expose working with mixed teams. So when coaches are working with women and men athletes at the same time. So here is open communication about nutrition and energy needs essential. Coaches at this point can set the tone by normalizing conversations about, of course, menstrual cycle, recovery, fueling strategies for both genders. This can help prevent stigma and ensures every athlete feels supported and discussing challenges related to energy balance or body composition. With these gender-specific considerations in mind, let's move on to the practical aspects of performance, how we can optimize meal timing around training sessions, especially in cold conditions and at altitude. So nutrition around training session is one of the key factors for, of course, performance and recovery, especially in winter sports where cold and long durations increase energy use. So before training, The goal is to top up glycogen stores and maintain blood sugar without causing stomach issues. Athletes should choose quick digesting carbohydrates, such as, let's say, white rice, oatmeal, bananas, toast with honey, or sports drinks. I would suggest avoid high fiber or high fat foods as they slow digestion and can cause discomfort during training. Then during training, athletes may need additional fuel, especially during sessions longer than 60 to 90 minutes. They should aim for 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour, or up to 90 grams for elite endurance athletes. Good options include energy gels, sport drinks, or choose ideally combined with fluids and electrolytes to replace sweat losses and prevent dehydration. After the training, we apply the 3R strategy. Refuel with carbohydrates. It's about 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body mass within 30 minutes. Then repair with 15 to 25 grams of protein for muscle recovery. And rehydrate with fluids and electrolytes to replace what was lost. For example, a cross-country skier might start the day with a light carb-based breakfast, take a gel or drink mid-session, and then have a full recovery meal within 30 minutes post-training. Let's say, such as rice, chicken, and vegetables. Then we have another example, an alpine skier on the other hand, often has shorter but more intense session. So the focus is on small, easy pre-training meal and solid protein-rich and of course carbohydrate-rich recovery meal after training. In winter conditions, athletes often eat less because of the cold, fatigue, or changes in appetite, already mentioned today. And that's why food should be light, practical, and energy dense. That means things like nuts, dried fruit, energy bars, or dehydrated meals are ideal. Warm drinks are very important, not just for comfort, but because they help maintain hydration status, which athletes often forget about in cold weather. When appetite drops, especially at altitude or in the early phase of training camps, protein shakes or meal replacement can be a practical way to maintain energy and nutrient intake. It's essential to eat regularly, even if there is no feeling of hunger. A prolonged energy deficit slows recovery and makes acclimatization more difficult. Once the body adapts to the environment, appetite usually comes back. So that's the time to increase food intake and support full performance recovery. We have here few practical winter snacks for carbohydrates. Dried fruit and nut mixes are great choice. They don't freeze easily and often offer quick carbohydrates. Then we have, I could suggest mixing things like dates, dry bananas, figs, cranberries, or even chocolate-covered raisins for extra flour. Energy bars made with oats, nuts, and dried fruit are compact, easy to eat with gloves on, and give both carbs and protein. And then we have granola bars and protein bars are portable. We can put it in a pocket, resist freezing. They resist freezing if they are kept inside your pocket and can supply energy along some protein, can supply energy along with some protein for muscle support. For the hydration, as already mentioned, hot drinks. There can be also drink, of course, water if the athletes prefers it, and different sport drinks. Now let's take a look at some of the most common pitfalls we see in nutrition for winter sport athletes. These are patterns that can appear across all levels, so from youth athletes to professionals, and they often have a bigger impact on performance than we might think. The first and most common issue is underfueling. In winter sports, energy expenditure is particularly high. We already mentioned the body needs a lot of energy for thermoregulation because there are higher needs, and so on. So many athletes unintentionally eat too little, they skip breakfast, or they don't refuel properly after the training. Warning signs that athletes is underfueled can be persistent fatigue, slower recovery, frequent illness, or even irritability and loss of motivation. So coaches should be aware of the underfueling, aware that underfueling doesn't always mean only weight loss. Sometimes it's just an energy mismatch that builds up over time. A second pitfall is placing too much emphasis on being clean. I already mentioned this. In sports where body mass influences performance, like ski jumping, cross-country skiing, or figure skating, there can be pressure to maintain low body mass or a specific figure. So this often leads to restrictive eating habits, nutrient deficiency, and rats. In reality, being cleaner doesn't always mean performing better. So this is very important to remember. Strength, endurance, and recovery capacity matter far more than the figure. The third challenge comes during travel and competitions. So long trips, changes in routine, and different food environments can easily disrupt nutrition habits. Already mentioned that at altitude appetite can decrease and dehydration becomes a real risk because cold, dry air increases fluid loss. So I suggest planning ahead, bringing snacks, having hydration strategies, and simple recovery foods that can make a big difference. And finally, the coach's role is here essential. Coaches often set the tone for how nutrition is perceived in a team. Encouraging athletes to eat regularly, hydrate well, and see food as fuel, not a reward or punishment, helps create a positive culture around eating. Recognizing early signs of low energy availability, as mentioned before, and working with nutrition professionals can prevent long-term issues. So addressing these common pitfalls early can help maintain both performance and long-term athlete health. In the next slide, we'll discuss shortly how practical coaching strategies can help athletes develop consistent and confident nutrition habits. So when athletes are dealing with travel, high altitude, or busy tournaments, you, as coaches, can use a few practical strategies to help them out. Remind athletes to eat regularly. It helps keep their energy up. So usually athletes, because their mind is elsewhere, they can forget to eat. So this can be your help. So you should remind athletes to eat regularly. Then coaches should keep an eye out for anyone feeling tired or stressed. Spotting it early makes a difference. Encourage good routines like drinking enough water or proper fluid, getting proper sleep, and recovering well. Again, this could be, if you can mention this to the athletes, this can make a difference. Of course, coaches should set a good example by practicing what they teach about health. So all those things should practice also them. And it helps to prep easily healthy snacks in advance, so athletes always have something nutritious on hand so you can give them. Coaches should also check hydration levels often, since it's easy to get dehydrated with travel and activities that changes. And at the end, don't be afraid to change up meals or recovery plans if schedule shifts. Being flexible keeps athletes well supported. And yes, of course, it takes a lot of organization, but have much better results planning all this. Съм я змръзнила? Шла напред? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I don't know what's happening.
Want to open Q&A since we are 10 minutes out?
Okay. Should I continue?
So we have 10 minutes to go. So maybe if we have Q&A.
Okay. I only have 4 more slides.
Okay, but bear in mind that we have 10 minutes. So
yeah, I will just shortly present this another Erasmus project that was led by our institute, so Ski Easy, and among other activities, there were also we published manuals, and one of the manuals in different languages. One of the manuals presents practical advices to the coaches. How should encourage children eating properly at the slopes. And shortly, take-home message. So as we wrap up, during winter, athletes, we mentioned many times, face higher energy and hydration demands. So it's important to pay extra attention to their nutrition. We have to be careful what exposure to the cold and altitude do to the athletes and how they respond to it. We should help with proper fueling, and for the coaches, playing a key role in spotting early nutrition problems and setting a positive culture is important. So at this point, I would like to point out that as coaches, you hold an essential responsibility in understanding the nutritional needs of your athletes. So please be careful about this. Knowledge empowers performance, but collaboration ensures safety and efficiency. So when everyone works together, coaches, nutritionists, athletes, we can create the best conditions for sustainable and, of course, healthy performance. So, and just before closing, I would like to acknowledge our institution and my colleagues where I work. So as Sasha already presented, the Institute for Kinesiology Research at the Science and Research Center in Koper in Slovenia. So, and with this slide, I'm finishing, so happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much. That was a lot to take in. We have one first question. One question. Will the slides presentation will also be available? Yes, we will send the slides and the video to everyone who has registered. But actually, I do have a question from you, from Cesar Garcia Hernandez. This is wonderful information. Thank you. Do you have suggestion for how to teach children to use these methods rather than resist them?
Okay. There is miscommunication. Kaja could not for the question, but I will make. Yeah, come on.
We have to get. I'm sorry.
So now we hear each other. Can you see? Can you hear us?
Here, and we see you well.
Okay. Okay. So
how do you teach children? The question is, the question is, how do you teach children? You know, not just imposing on them.
So how do you teach children about nutrition?
Yes, about these good habits and nutrition.
Yeah. So with the children, it's extra important to be a good role model, and here play a very important role, of course, parents. So the best part is, not part, the suggestion is to maybe organize some presentation. What would be useful? I invite you to look at those SCISI manuals, but of course with the children, parents and coaches, they should be role models, and if they like you and adore you, they will usually do as you do. So I would start from there. Okay. Another
We have another
question?
one. Margaret Kwakwa, do you have any particular advice for athletes who are vegetarian but not vegan?
Yeah, there are, so I didn't mention a lot in this webinar. So the nutrition, especially for athletes, should be always individualized. So I think that the advices should come from the nutritionists, not from you. If you don't have enough knowledge, you should be aware of, but with a specific nutrition plan, it can be possible to collect all the nutrients. There are no such as problems, but if you can do that, there are always supplements, so you can use supplements, but as I already mentioned, that could be second choice. First, yeah, with the foods that are rich, of course, with proteins, very good preparation, extra organization, and yeah.
Okay. Don't be shy, please. Please write your questions in the. Oh, here we have another one. This is Rod and Rachel. 5 milligrams per kilo of caffeine has been shown to boost endurance. Do you think the trade-off between caffeine consumption and diuresis is worth it?
Yeah, again, I think it's very individualized. I would suggest try it at the trainings, but then maybe because trainings are longer period, then use it when you establish the routine, use it on the competition. So I don't think that diuresis should be that big that should athletes be, I don't know, bothered with it. So I think that it's more beneficial to take caffeine, but again, it's individualized.
And why we wait for more questions, I would like to emphasize something that Tarja said, the responsibility of the coaches to lead by example and also to give breaks, to drink, to eat. Too often, we still see coaches that when someone says, I'm tired, they just dismiss it, that when they want to drink, they just dismiss it. So it's very important to have a question. We have a question from Rado. Rado, I don't know how to make you. You can talk. You can talk now.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Why you? Okay. Now I have a comment, if it's okay, talking about the importance from the side of teachers and ski instructors to the nutrition habits or whatever, all habits. I think one of the most important thing is the role model. And many times happen that ski instructors or coaches are exactly an opposite. So they are not a good role model, and that's a big problem.
We agree. Yeah, for sure, we agree, and that was I emphasize this much, that we should lead by an example, and we start with ourselves, and hopefully, especially the children will follow, and then also the athletes. If usually athletes are focused on the results, so if we explain them properly, they will also understand and follow with the recommendations.
Yes, but as Rado said, it's definitely start from the coaches, creating space, both mentally and physically, for breaks, for drinking, for eating, and understanding this is performance. But as you correctly pointed out, this is also safety. And
Safety and refueling.
Exactly. So we need to do it. Sorry, Rado, go ahead.
Thank you.
No, it's okay. That's all. Congratulations, Kaja. Great talk.
Thank you. Okay.
Are there any more questions?
So we have 3 minutes or 2 minutes more for another questions.
I have another one. You mentioned the ideal 30, this is Rod and Rachel again. You mentioned the ideal 30 minutes post-workout recovery meal. Is there diminishing returns for the farther out you push that time window?
No, it's not that. Those are just recommendations. Again, it would be when you prepare or when you organize all the meals in the day, you would see that in those 30 meals you get first nutrients in. Of course, the body that is, let's say, exhausted from the workout would take all of them. But after that, you also have to have other meals. So lunch, dinner, or depends in what time of the day. So it's a recommendation and practical advice. Of course, it's important because those nutrients are used the most, but yeah, also the other meals that came after are important as well.
And there is another question, Fletcher McDonald. What are some examples of iron-rich foods to help build iron stores at altitude?
Yeah, the first thing I would suggest that you check iron stores before you are going to the altitude, because they should be replenished for the female athletes especially. Then when you come up, the food that is from animal sources are very rich with iron. So let's say red meat. Then we have different types of vegetables that are such as beans. I'm sorry, I lost the word now. Yeah, any kind of beans. Yeah, let's say any kind of beans and all the vegetables. Yeah, legumes. Yeah, thank you. But I would suggest with the iron that it's that you communicate with the medical doctor to check the blood stores of the iron, and to, if they are low, maybe they get a supplement by the doctor, of course. Usually, if there is a problem with the iron, the food usually can't be enough. So you have to check it regularly.
Thank you so much. This was really, really... Oh, sorry, we have one last question. Rod and Rachel again. On the back of the last question, from bioavailability standpoint, do you prefer natural food or supplements?
No, for sure, it's always food first, extra important. And if you see on the blood or with the organization of the food that you can do it, then you choose supplements. And again, I have to be very clear that you have to take supplements that are pure, that are checked, and yeah, be very aware when you're using supplements. So food first.
Macaune asks, are honey and maple syrup a positive substitute for highly processed sugars?
Maple syrup? Yeah. Yeah, it can be. I think it's, I'm not very familiar, but as I know, I think this is, so this is simple sugar. So yes, it can be used instead of, let's say, glucose or other processed food. Yeah, processed sugar.
And I have a question, if I may. The night before the races, pizza or proteins?
Sorry, what was that?
The night before the race, pizza or protein?
So this is very mixed question. So the pizza, I would say, with those words, it's fast food. It's rich with fats and salt. So I wouldn't suggest it. I would say better some pasta with sauce or something like this. And of course, with the combination of the protein, for sure.
So no pizzas, people, before before the night before the race.
It's after competition when we win.
Okay, after competition, then we win.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. This was super interesting, and we will send the link to this presentation like tomorrow, the day after. I guess many of us will have to watch it and rewatch it. Please share with your athletes, other coaches, because this was super interesting and very useful. And please follow us with more events with EWAS and the Institute. Sasha, thank you so much again. Talia, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Welcome.
See you soon.
Okay. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We have one last question.
Okay.
Let me see how I do this. Panelists, no, attendees. Where is the hand? Oh, I think it was, where is it? I see one hand, but I don't see. Oh no, it was Razo who.
Rado, yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much again.
Okay. Welcome. Bye-bye. Bye.